The former top lawyer in the Israeli military has been arrested over a leaked video showing the alleged abuse of a Palestinian detainee by soldiers in an Israeli prison. Major General Tomer-Yerushalmi resigned last week and claimed full responsibility for the leak. Our Middle East correspondent Eric Tlozek has been following the story and he joins me now. Eric, so Tomer-Yerushalmi is in custody. What sort of charges is she facing and how serious are they?
So she's been charged with, she's being held on suspicion of releasing protected information, breaching essentially Israel's Official Secrets Act. So she's also in charge of abuse, is likely to be charged with abuse of office, which is meaning that she authorised the release of evidence that she was charged with investigating. So these were the offences that her office actually was investigating, and then she's reportedly, the allegations say that she told one of her subordinate officers to leak this footage to the media, and she did so in response to an enormous public pressure campaign from members of the right-wing government and pressure groups outside the government that they're allied with about their efforts to investigate these soldiers for the alleged abuse of a Palestinian detainee. So she said that her officers were being intimidated, assaulted, were subject to enormous political pressure, and she authorised the leak in order to kind of counteract that pressure so that the Israeli public would understand the actual type and scale of the abuse that her office was charged with investigating. But it was the fact that not only was this protected information held by her office, that she in fact had a conflict of interest. She was responsible for investigating those alleged offences, as well as the political climate in Israel, the fact that this video, the horrific abuse that it showed, the sexualised abuse of a Palestinian prisoner, caused Israel, sparked enormous criticism of Israel internationally, and also questions about its effort to investigate itself.
So given the reasons she has put out for leaking the video, how have Israelis reacted to it?
So the video was actually leaked in August last year to Channel 12, one of Israel's main television channels, and it caused a storm. But really, what caused the storm was the reaction to the arrest of these guards initially. So in late July, 9 men working at this infamous military prison, Sde Teman, were arrested as part of this investigation. That led to a riot where right-wing protesters stormed the base and then stormed a military prison in central Israel trying to free the men. And they included, those rioters included members of parliament, who all outraged that anyone had dared arrest guards guarding Palestinian detainees for the abuse of those detainees. And even though a doctor who had treated the detainee came forward and said he had also blown the whistle about this abuse, that he was so horrified about the abuse that had been committed, there was enormous pressure not to charge these guards. And so Tomer-Yerushalmi released the video in that environment. So already it was a very febrile and charged environment. She authorised the leak of that video to try and offset some of that enormous public backlash to her efforts to investigate this abuse.
Yes, and how is the Netanyahu government responding to what this lawyer has done and the reasons for leaking the video?
This dovetails very nicely with the current government's attempts to kind of change Israel, to really influence Israel's justice system, to change the laws around the justice system, to change the amount of power that the justice system has over the government and the executive in Israel. So it fits with the narrative that the government has been saying, that members of Israel's deep state and justice system, it calls it, are basically affecting the work of the government and curtailing the ability of the government to effectively defend Israel, as well as making Israel look bad internationally. It hasn't addressed the nature of the abuse itself. Rather it has focused on the fact that a senior official was leaking against the government as they see it. So look, the government is more concerned in Israel with how it's viewed internationally, but also with this campaign that it was embarking on before October 7 to introduce what it called judicial reform laws in order to basically curtail the power of many of Israel's independent institutions, like the courts, the power that they have to reverse government decisions. So that's where we've seen a lot of the reaction in the days after this investigation into Yifat Tomer-Yerushalmi began.
Yes, and finally, Eric, what might this entire saga, the impact, have on cases against Israel at the International Criminal Court and the International Court of Justice?
Yeah, that is of critical importance, because the allegations against Israeli soldiers and guards and prison authorities are enormous and shocking. They are extremely grave. A UN Commission of Inquiry alleged that torture and abuse, including sexual abuse, including of children, was systemic and intentional in Israeli detention facilities. So Israel is being charged with, is facing allegations of genocide at the International Court of Justice. Benjamin Netanyahu and former Defence Minister Yoav Gallant are both facing war crimes and crimes against humanity allegations at the International Criminal Court, as that they bear executive responsibility for the decisions and actions of Israel's military. And Israel's defence to those, its primary defence to those cases, is that it is capable of investigating itself. It has independent authorities that will do adequate and comprehensive investigations, and it's capable of holding the perpetrators of any breaches to account. Now, this saga, call it whatever you want, what's happening in Israel now with Tomer-Yerushalmi raises further questions about Israel's ability and willingness to investigate serious offences, because let's not forget that at the heart of this story is the incredibly serious abuse of one Palestinian prisoner, but there are actually hundreds who have made these allegations, and many of them substantiated in the UN Commission of Inquiry's findings. And 5 men have been charged over the abuse of that one prisoner, but get this, Gerish, the prisoner was released back into Gaza over a month ago without being interviewed, without his testimony being taken. So that shows you just how seriously the authorities are taking these charges. They didn't even take evidence from the alleged victim in this case. And also the fact that he suffered this alleged abuse and then was released into Gaza, back into Gaza, indicating that there's not serious evidence against him or a justification for him being held, let alone being treated in that way. So Israel's critics and those preparing the evidence in cases against Israel will use this as further evidence that its authorities are incapable or unwilling to do the serious investigative work and hold the perpetrators of those abuses to account.
Okay, Middle East correspondent Eric Tlozek, we'll leave it there. Thank you so much.